So anyway, to continue, bring the stuff up. Nobody's saying don't bring it up just because I criticize it. And also, you made a fair point about if I am taking a bit of the more emotional, like, hello, hello. I could see why that would bother you. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it, but okay, I want to respect that. But it's not going to go infinitely. I'm not going to spend, this much care on how I address you when we're this far in using terms that are compatible enough where you're actually talking about what you just spent a bunch of time about how I want to plan the whole economy. I want to decide who buys the pens. No, I would decide how much I would leave for the commissary manager to buy as many pens as get bought in that commissary on average, with some of the intelligence of, trying to predict, oh, this is the big season and whatnot. So, I'm calling you confused. It sounds to you like I'm saying don't bring the subject up. Well, I'm not. Bring the subject up, but you're relating the subject to my point in a way that isn't true. It's that relationship you make. Bring it up and say, here's what we've learned from planned economies. Okay, you already know part of my thing is like, well, it's not wholly a planned economy. It's just a subset economy, which is pegged to a previous state of the dynamic economy. And every once in a while, when we want to increase the amount of money that the pensioners get, that we can reassess where we peg those prices.
About the failing of planned economy. You didn't even want to argue that we were talking about. I'm not charging you with wanting to run the world. I'm charging in a planned way. I'm charging you with wanting to run a large portion of the allocation of resources. That is people who are going to be busy doing this, that.
Wait a second, a large portion. We're talking about $800 a month portion. That's way below the average salary in the U.S. by a factor of 3 or so. So, or at least, I definitely know it's more than 2. Somewhere between 2 and 3 is my guess. So yeah, it's a huge fraction, but we're already sending them checks and have their names in a database and keep track, and they have meetings with this administration. It's already a huge infrastructure that does that, and it's inefficiently ignoring the supply side of what it's trying to do, which is provide a basic sustenance. The goal is not to give them money and be done with it. The goal is that they be able to survive decently, and giving them money isn't working. And there's another side to the equation, that the government is large enough already, the Social Security Agency is large enough already to address.
And the other, right, making the numbers, style, colours and specifications of things that bureaucrats will decide.
They already decide them. And they decide them for their departments based on their expertise as managers of their departments or as buyers for divisions of the government. They are either good or bad at that job. And I am not saying I should be forced to use, this is important. When there's two ideas, the Social Security commissary idea and the fact that I should be able to buy these things produced for the government at cost. Okay, those are two different things. If a bureaucrat starts saying, I want pens that don't write at all, only in invisible ink, I won't want that. I can still buy that, is by my logic. I would be able to buy that, but I would not want to. Okay, so it's market driven, and you have people in the bureaucracy that are not creating it for another market, they're doing it for themselves. That's why it works sometimes, because they're not thinking what'll sell, because they're not making money. They're thinking, what do I need? And possibly, how much can I spend on it? And then they're creating a specification like that. It's like, well, I'd like a pen that writes for infinite years, but those would be infinite dollars, so I'll go with, one that writes 500 feet. Give or take 100 in a few lemons.
Buy a plan system. Now, at one point you say, oh, I'm just kind of trying to add an extra tool to the system. At the moment, the only solution we have is to give them more money to account for inflation. No.
Okay, I am glad that you're getting these side things, though I think we're missing a core because we don't have the core. But at least I do know. I want to note among my criticism that you do get some of these points I'm trying to make, but I don't think you get what they really mean from my vantage point of the system I'm actually deciding, because you still have this idea of control. You don't understand that a bureaucrat in my system is not deciding what pen other people want. He's deciding what pen he wants for the job he's supposed to get done, or she. And I'm just asking to be in on that. If he decides well and it's what fits my needs as well at the price I need, then we're good to go. If it doesn't, then whatever, I go to the private market.
That's fine. Why do we need another tool? Why can we not balance this issue?
Okay, I know I'm interrupting a lot, but see, this makes this more potentially productive. Why can't we just balance this thing? Because we only have control of one side of the balance. That's why. Price pressure, income pressure. Those things are balanced, right? The paying for the good and the getting the good and the cost of the good, those are balanced, opposed. If they're even, then the transaction can happen. Okay? So I want to get on the other side of that equation. If we're going to balance it, we have to be able to get on both sides of the scale. That's why we need this extra tool. It's not just a tool. It's the other side of the basic equation.
Why do we need to introduce this complication of the added plan system? What is faulty? What is faulty with the simple, to adjust when we have economic changes and we need to see that they can still appropriate the necessities of life? What is wrong with simply giving them more money?
Okay, I mentioned what was wrong because if you give someone more money because the price of bread is risen in half the country, then you're giving it to people where it hasn't risen. Whereas if you subsidize the price of bread in the places where it's gotten expensive, all of your money, do you understand how that would be less? That to cover the amount of money you need to cover that price increase, you have to spend a lot more money if you just spread it out everywhere. Okay, that's why. It gives you a granularity of targeting. Shit, am I out of thing? No. Okay. So hopefully I have described that. That is the difference. That is what it gives you compared to just giving people more money. Also, you said if you have made sure they can get the sustenance. Well, they haven't. They haven't. And let me tell you, if we started this system, we'd be shocked at how cheap things have to be and haven't been for those people. We would be shocked. We would be faced for, oh my God, this subsidy is going to be a lot of money. You know why that is? Because we wouldn't be able to face what we've really told these people that they can live like. And we'd have to do something about it. But I'm fine with just doing it the way we have done it now. Just change over to this system and find out, oh, we can't subsidize you. Because let's stop pretending that we are then.
How is that lacking when your proposed system has these failings? The failings of a classic planned economy.
I think I've dealt with that, right? It doesn't have the failings of a classic planned economy because it's very different. And I'll repeat, it's a main difference. One of the major differences is that we're not talking about bureaucrats saying what the citizens need. They don't eliminate the market that decides that. They say what they need. And if what they need happens to be things that serve everybody's purpose, then, the private industry will have to do better. And they probably will. But in other areas where they just have some crazy thing and all the forms have to be with ugly carbon copy triplicate, then we'll get something else. So it doesn't have those failings.